Sometimes, although somewhat rarely, cars can be so good or popular that the companies making them continue to produce them for a long time through a single generation. Join me today as I explore the cars that had abnormally long production runs. This is Autophil, and I hope you enjoyed this video. To start our video, we have a car that you wouldn't expect to have had a long production. It's the Peugeot 206. Released in 1998, the 206 was introduced as the long-awaited successor to the legendary 205. Although it never gained the iconic status of the 205, the 206 was still a great car and proved to be an equally great success, getting a midlife facelift called 206 Plus in 2009, which overhauled its front end. Here in Europe, the 206 went through a 14-year-long life, which is already pretty long. However, the 206 was actually produced for much longer than that. As of 2001, the 206 had been continuously produced until 2024, until Iran out of all countries, although not by Peugeot, but rather by a company called Iran Khodro, or IKCO for short, being built by the company under license. The Iranian 206, offered only as a saloon, was sold until 2010, when it was replaced by the facelifted 206 Plus hatchback, offered as the 207i in Iran. A saloon version of the facelift was briefly sold there, but only for 3 years, as it didn't meet sales expectations. With all that said, I guess you could say that the Peugeot 206 was truly a world car, having been sold for 26 years throughout nearly every corner of the world. Let's move on. Now here's an unexpected vehicle. What I'm talking about is the Volkswagen Jetta, out of all things, the second generation to be specific. Why the second generation? We'll get to that in a sec, but first we have to talk about the car itself. The Mark II VW Jetta was quite a popular car, being based on the then new second generation Golf platform. It was sold from 1984 all the way to 1992, for a total of 8 years in total. But that's only in Europe. A year before ending European production, in 1991, the second gen Jetta began production in China. There, the Jetta was quite a success. It was assembled from knockdown kits in China until 1995, when the full Volkswagen joint venture began full local production. After that, the Chinese Jetta Mark II had 2 revisions. The first one, released in 1997, was called the Jetta King, with the car's design altered somewhat to resemble the 4th generation Passat. After that, in 2010, the Jetta was facelifted again, this time having its name changed to the Jetta Pioneer, and design changed to match the appearance of newer Volkswagen models. This version of the Jetta Mark II was sold until 2013, when it was succeeded by an entirely new version of the saloon. With that, the second generation Jetta was produced from 1984 all the way to 2013, making for a production run of 29 years and nearly 2 million units built. That is quite a lot of not just years, but also a lot of Jettas. In China, the Jetta became so popular that Volkswagen made a brand named after the car, which currently sells budget cars not just in China, but also in Russia and Iran. So with all that said, the VW Jetta Mark II managed to not just gain an iconic status, but also led to the creation of an entire brand using its name. That just goes to show that the Chinese Jetta was quite a popular car, despite being sold in an emerging market, doesn't it? Anyways, let's get to the next car. Our next vehicle is one that you may know about. What I'm thinking of is the Fiat Uno. This small hatchback had its release here in Europe over 40 years ago in 1983 and ended its production run here in 1995. That's already a long lifespan for a single generation car. 12 years, dang. Now then, even though that's already pretty long, the Fiat Uno was actually sold for an even longer time, but not in Europe, mainly in Brazil in fact. I understand that the Uno was sold for a longer time in other markets too, but we're going to focus on the Brazilian market specifically because that's where it was sold the longest. The Uno was introduced there at the same time as it was in Europe, although it wasn't discontinued until 2014. I'm not joking. After the end of European production, the Uno went through a single facelift, being redesigned to match Fiat's then current design language. This redesign made its debut in the early 2000s, and by the time this facelift came along, the Uno had already been discontinued in other markets where it was sold after the end of European production. This new Uno was sold until 2013, when it ended Brazilian production, after that country's government announced that every car built after the beginning of 2014 needed front airbags and ABS brakes, which the Uno apparently lacked. With that announcement, the final few Unos built were part of a special edition called Mille, which means 1000 in Italian, and so by the time the Uno finished production in late 2013, the Italian hatch had been in production for 30 years. A very long time indeed. Thankfully, this wasn't the end of the Uno yet. The Uno nameplate was revived as a budget city car just the next year, so I guess there was no point of the prior limited edition Mille existing when the new Uno was just around the corner. So yeah, the Uno was revived, and while this version has been discontinued, there are rumours of a third generation Uno coming out soon. Who knows? Maybe it will come out after all, not just in Brazil, but in Europe too? We'll just have to wait and see. Now here's a car that you probably know about. I'll let you take a guess. It's a small SUV from a very big country. Can you guess it? I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay then. Let's see if you guessed right. Drumroll please. Wow, it's the Lada Niva. Who could have thought? The Niva is what you could describe as a relic of the past. It was initially introduced all the way back in 1977 and is still built by the Russian company to this very day. The Niva is a legendary vehicle because of its ruggedness and off-roading prowess. This pocket-sized 4x4 is basically the Russian equivalent of the Suzuki Jimny, as both are light and very good at off-roading. The Niva was and still is a very reliable car, and a cheap one at that, costing just £3,733 today. Because of not just its cheapness, but also because of its off-roading capabilities, the Niva was perfect for the people living in the more extreme regions of Russia, such as Siberia. With all that said, the Niva is a nearly perfect car, which is rather surprising due to the Niva's age and the Lada mark pretty much having nothing to do with reliability. Another surprising thing to do with the Niva is just how long it has been produced for. It's been produced ever since 1977, making for a nearly 50-year-long production run. How this car has survived for so long is beyond me. Now then, the Niva is sadly somewhat close to the end of its lifespan, after Vaz, Lada's owner, has stated that a second generation Niva is in the works, although when it will be released is still not known. There are rumours of it debuting in 2026, and that's pretty likely, so I hope the original Niva ends its lifespan on a good note. I hope to get one of these when I get the chance to once I'm older. Overall, the Lada Niva is a legendary automobile with a very, and I mean very, long lifespan. With all that said, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, why not like and subscribe? This is Autofill. See you later.